Bruce Fairbairn was the producer on that record, and he did Loverboy. He did the Pump.
Yeah, he did Pump.
Yeah, and unfortunately isn't with us any longer. But he was an amazing. He was a horn player. That was his instrument. So when he, arrangement-wise, he was very helpful. Steven is just a genius. They're all amazing players. Brad, Joe, both Joes, just amazing musicians. And but Bruce was Steven always was best working off of somebody. He would come up with a dozen ideas. It was never the situation where we were for lack of ideas. He needed somebody to sort out the 20 ideas he would have. It would be like, I've got this idea, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. Oh, wait. This one is the best of those 10 ideas you just threw at me. So.
And Bruce was the guy for that.
And Bruce was the guy for that. So we did this record together, and then we didn't probably join up again until '97.
Armageddon.
For the Don't Want to Miss a Thing. And that was the next time we got together and recorded that soundtrack. And surprisingly and amazingly, that's their only #1 song of their career, and that's hard to believe. Yeah, Diane Warren wrote it. Yeah, I was like, and Steven hated it.
Really?
Yeah, hated it and hated the mix.
I remember.
Hated the mix. I
never
got so much grief from anybody as I got from him, and that was a bitch of a song to mix.
Yeah.
It was Matt Serletic, and if Bob, have you worked with Matt Serletic? He's as bad as Mutt Lange. Oh, he doesn't have the experience. Easily, we probably had at least 100 faders on that song, maybe 120. We would have multiple Pro Tools rigs locked together because there were so many tracks that one full rig couldn't deal with it. So we would lock rigs together.
David, was hitting stations on the way down here.
And was that on?
It was on 92.
Oh, geez. My songs are usually in the grocery stores now, on elevators, in Macy's, That's where all my stuff gets played. That's
if I brag on you for a second, I wanted to touch on the Matt Serletic period, so we're there, we might as well do it now. He's an arranger, and everything he does tends to be really big. And time to time, David let me come hang out, and so I would watch, and like some of this stuff that he's given Dave is like 160 tracks. I remember.
Yeah, we had one record, 160 tracks.
On Matchbox, maybe.
No, it wasn't Matchbox. It was another band. Color, yeah.
Which they were a 3-piece band. Literally, drums, bass, and one guitar player.
160 channels, and and this is not like bringing back the reverbs. This is 160 channels of 20 tracks of guitar and one guy, 20 tracks. One rhythm guitar would have like multiple layering. You can't say layering enough. It's like layering and layering and layering. We had, I think we mixed that out at Sound Kitchen. I think.
I remember you were at.
Oh, was it? Was it?
I actually got to come by and visit.
Oh, I thought I mixed some of that though. Maybe at East Iris. I remember I had every fader on the board filled, and then all the little monitor faders.
Yeah.
As well.
Mad Season. East
well,
Iris,
and yeah, same thing. That was huge as well, because Matt would put strings and horns on a lot of his records, right? Everybody, and there were always 50-piece orchestrations. So, and there were such intricate orchestrations that you couldn't really. I know minimal miking is the key when you're doing orchestrations, but if you did not have the piccolo mic'd, and it got to a moment where the piccolo for one bar played this lick, and Matt would turn and say, raise the piccolo. If you didn't have that covered somehow, you were in trouble. So not that I probably, on a 60-piece orchestra, I might have 20 mics out there. Spot miking, I got French horns, I got a whole horn section. I've got probably 60 strings. No, what am I talking about? About 40 strings. I got woodwinds. So I've got oboes and clarinets and piccolos and just everything. You know, contrabasses and basses, and it's like just massive. And it was like, raise that lick, and it's like, you better make sure you spot mic in section so that if there was a moment that you could raise it if necessary. So very common for just the strings alone to maybe be 24 channels of stuff. And then he was very big into loops. So you would have your, you know, maybe 15 tracks of drums, but then another 15 tracks of loops. And he was very Mutt Lange driven into that multiple layering of backing vocals. So it would be not uncommon to maybe have 30 tracks of backing vocals, 3-part harmonies, you know, all very intricate, all, you know, happening, all different harmonies at different times.
It's interesting that you get to see Errol Smith from Toys in the Attic, which was probably bare bones, get a grip, started getting pretty big.
Bigger, but Bruce,
track,
yeah, 48. Bruce wasn't
and here you
into.
are with the same band that you know.
Yeah.
Y'all made a record on 16 or 24 tracks.
Oh yeah.
Now you're.
Yeah. Now we're into double Pro Tools rigs.
I thought that was cool though, and I wanted to touch on that. And we're going to come back to some of the Matt stuff because there's some stuff I want to touch on. But
Steven hated that mix because he always thought his vocal was too loud. That was what he hated, because he hated himself being out front. Now, when you talk to a lot of people that have, now if you go back and say, what do you like about that song? I love Steven's voice. It's like right there. I don't have to fight for it. It's like, that's exactly what Steven hated about it. So who do you listen to?
You made this record with Jay Giles, I guess, in the 70s, but in the 80s, y'all made a record called Love Stinks, 1980.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on, you had a long-standing relationship with those guys, and they seemed to really, remember Love Stinks and Freeze Frame and Centerfold? Like, you did all those. So how did you come to know those guys, and they really took you in? You were kind of part of the
I absolutely was. They literally, I cut my recording and engineering chops on that band. Really quick, what happened was I was on a record called Hotline with Bill Szymczyk, famous for the Eagles records. I mean, very famous for a lot of records, but the Eagles is what, like Hotel California is what people, you know, relate to Bill Szymczyk. We had done Hotline together, and the next year, the band wanted to come back and record at Record Plant, but Bill was doing Hotel California and wasn't, at the time he said he wasn't going to be available for what he thought was going to be 6 months. It was probably ended up being a year. But long story short, they asked Roy Cicala, who was the one who stuck me in the session with John Lennon, they asked him to engineer the record. He said yes. Actually had no intention of doing it. He said yes, books me as the assistant on this album called Monkey Island, which was the album that followed Hotline. And came in, I set everything up, and basically he was in his office. I, you know, set everything up, got sounds and everything, got headsets, got EQ, track assignment. It was all ready to go. I mean, literally just had to hit record. And I went in his office and I said, "Okay, Roy, you're on. You can come in now." And he comes in, and he could see all the faders are set, the monitors are set, the EQ is set, the consoles, the multi-track, which was this huge machine back in those days, the old MCI. 24 tracks. I mean, I couldn't even, as big as I can stretch my, I could not reach end to end. And each channel was that big. And there were 16 on top and 8 on the bottom. It was this massive machine. The reason I bring this up is it was always on the side of the room. And so you needed a tape op to stand over by the machine and be able to stop and record and play whatever needed to happen, because the engineer just wanted to concentrate on the board.